Goeiedag, good day, fellow South Africans, and what I'm attaching to this intro is a video, which is a discussion between two Africans talking about your future. And the reason I'm doing this is because when you get your head around about what they're saying, you can understand that this is what is being discussed in the homes of Africans right through South Africa. And when you realize that, you can see why the situation is so desperate for white South Africans. In this video, they talk about a genocide. Whites need to realize what's happened to other nations in Africa. There are whole, and they talk about land expropriation, of course, but it gives you a very good insight as to what Africans in South Africa are. Let me clarify. Black Africans in South Africa, because white Africans have just as much right to be there, but it gives you an insight into what is going on behind closed doors, and you can understand why Malema, who's got to be a black Hitler, is getting so much support. And I'm very worried about the 2019 elections in South Africa, because if Malema gets in, it's not going to be a happy place to be. All right, I'll just attach this video. You can watch it in its entirety, and you'll see the sort of stuff that you have to put up with that's going on behind the scenes. Okay, take care.
Yes, family, this is it. This is the book. You see all those great revolutionary warriors? Excellent.
All together.
Yeah, family, what we here to talk about is a modern day revolutionary, Julius Malema, of the Economic Freedom Fighters of South Africa. That's a political party, and the numbers they gave, that's the third strongest party there in South Africa. Now, this revolutionary brother was originally one of the youth leaders of the
ANC,
of the African National Congress, ANC, and that's Mandela's party, and that history, and this brother has been bringing the young youth energy that we talk about. That when we talk about South Africa, we talk about that additional to ZANU-PF,
right,
to where it balanced it out,
right,
to where they work together, strong force.
And
really just run parliament the way it should be run, to make things work for the masses of the people in the country. So we talk about the greatness of Robert Mugabe, and it seemed like a lot of us have already been learning a lot from Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe, and the greatness that they've done, and also the mistakes that they've made.
Right.
And I've listened to a lot of Malema's speeches and what he talked about, and he's ready to explain to people that this land expropriation without compensation is all the way just, and then that it's not going to be a fumble situation to where they stumble on how it's going to work out. They're
right,
putting things in place, and that's why it's important that when we have these different parties in our country, they work together to handle the most important thing, which is the foundation of taking care of people.
Right.
All African countries, we need our land for our people to do the farming, and I never would ever believe what any person could just throw in front of us to make it seem like that only white people can manage farms and things like that. Our people have been formed before there's any such thing as a white person, and our people are still doing their thing. It's just when people throw in the monkey wrench in the game and set up their little systems to where to where we're shut out of certain markets, to where next thing it seems like we can't run certain things. But brother Joseph, excuse me, family, brother Julius Malema. I've really studied that foundation, and we looked at a time where South Africa in 1994. Now we're looking at 2018. Well, that's what, a good 24 years?
Hey, look.
Wow.
That's how long it takes, because, when you look at, where they came from. I mean, look at the deal they're in. I mean, we talked about Mugabe and the fact that the Lancaster Agreement, that they agreed 20 years that the United States and Britain would play for the land, But we're talking about a land a quarter of the size of South Africa, right?
Exactly.
But when you look at what happened with them and their matriculation to power and what Mandela made a deal for, I can't help but say it.
Yeah, it's
left
painful.
the military in their hands, left the police in their hands, left the diamond mines in their hands. Truth and Reconciliation, African people sitting up there telling about how they were tortured and killed, and the crackers that did it to them sit there, say they did it, and still walk away. So when you see a lot of the violence now, when you see them brothers and sisters over there murdering white people, you see, and they sending their reporters over there and they reporting on it now, trying to draw the emotionality, talking about Trump, where you let the white people from South Africa come to America, relating, because remember that historical relationship between the Union of South Africa, that USA, and the United States of America during those apartheid years and previous to that. United States has always been the greatest purveyor and buyer of goods from South Africa that there has been. And so when we looking at Brother Juju and what's happening now, and that transition of power, you got to understand, when Zuma left and Ramaphosa came into power, was based upon that. Even though Zuma wasn't, he wasn't tripping on, he just wasn't doing it fast enough. And Malema was pressing that gas on their ass.
It seems like they've been pressing for several years.
But Malema was the linchpin that brought in the energy, as we said, that's always important of the youth. He spoke in their language. They would sing their songs. They would dance around. They'll play the drum. And them children was ready, and they doing stuff on their own, even without Malema telling them, okay, we changed the law. Y'all slow down. They got gangs in South Africa. That's the baddest shit ever. Brothers is banding together. They making videos. The cracker look on YouTube. They got videos of crackers, security cameras outside their house with them brothers creeping up in there, going murdering everything. So you can look at the police in America murdering us on video on CNN and all them YouTube videos, Eric Garner and Philando Castile. But you can also turn on the other channel on YouTube and go and see us being victorious in Southern Africa. And there'll always be inspiration. And that's what this is based upon.
Yes, absolutely, family. It's you have white people around the world crying tears and talking about, and then trying to get the entire world to say, look at what's happening to the white farmers. They're getting their land stolen from them. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
It's like, family, go back to the Berlin Conference, 1884 to 1885 in Germany, and then even go back before then, right. When you deal with South Africa in 1650 or 1651, when the Dutch invaded, and these white devils are saying that they just came to South Africa and there was nothing there, and they just built civilization.
They murdered
and they built a great nation.
There's
that's what they tell us in their history books, and they talk. Right. But no. Our people are living on that land, and our people are forcibly removed. I mean, these white devils use their modern day technology of guns and weapons.
Look, the spiritual energy. I mean, because when you talk about South Africa, it really stick in your craw, and people a lot of time don't understand why. And spiritually, you have to understand why. There were populations of people in South Africa that don't exist no more. They wiped them all out. They got languages that exist based upon the writings they got on the wall in the caves and around at monuments in South Africa. But when they look for the people that speak the language, they can't find them no more. That's what the Dutch and the French and
German and British.
The Germans did that make the Boers that they call Dutch, French, and German, and they all mixed together
the Africana language.
Cocktail of murderous crackers that launched themselves on our people in Southern Africa that had some of the greatest civilization that ever existed on the African continent. So when you talk about what it is that was done there, and you talk about Malema and what's happening now, and the fact that when we get into the natural resource base that's there, Southern Africa is going to be the key. South Africa is going to be the key when we talk about 200, 300 years from now, when our great-great-grandchildren have become victorious in that struggle for liberation that Mugabe and Malema are now leading us into. Because where it exists based on the natural resource base, and when you're talking about satellites in space, when you look at where it had to be launched from, that's why China has the key now. South Africa has the key also, and they have a base there where they launch satellites from. That the United States depends on very heavily. So what we're dealing with the land reappropriation in South Africa, keep an eye on, because it's going to be something that in the future of the liberation of the ultimate liberation of African people, it's going to be very important as far as the matriculation of scientific defense infrastructure that's going to take place in Africa.
Excellent, family. That whole history of this are people that don't exist in South Africa, or people that was wiped out. It's all a part of this white domination. So these people dominated our people, and I don't know if they ever thought that several generations or several centuries ahead in time that there are people going to be at a crossroads. So now you have the descendants of those evil, wicked white devils that are on the land, and some of them. And it's not like they're gonna say, "Oh, they paid for the land." The land was passed down by generation and generation. So it's been generations of white privilege in South Africa from 1600s to here now in the 21st century. So now and then so people have been frustrated. People have dealt with domination after domination. Their land being stolen, and people and white people building up what they want to build up on their land and doing whatever they want to build up, and they feel like just because they have done that now that they deserve some kind of compensation. So Malema is like, and I'm glad someone stood up there in South Africa and aside from ANC, because
he pushed them to make it have to do it faster.
It was just getting
Malema
that old school,
the gas,
like good old boys laid back, and now we have independence.
Malema is the gas on energy.
No, you have to speed things up, and you can't just let time just go by in a situation. So that's what you have now, and then now South Africa is just exploding to a powder keg to where government and law enforcement can't control some of the things that's going on, because it's that situation where people have been oppressed and deprived of opportunities, where you have white people who have lived in South Africa for generations with white privilege in a black nation of majority black people, to where they dominate all of the major aspects of that. So what do you feel, or how do you think that the current generations who have been ripped from their privilege and opportunities, they want their opportunity back? We talk about like Killmonger. He went back with a vengeance, like I want it all. You know what I mean? And so expropriation of land without compensation is only just because of the genocide that has been committed against the South African people of different nations. Like we talk about like the 3 or 4 different popular tribes. But what about the 7, 8, 9, 10 and all the other popular tribes that does not exist anymore? So you do have white people that are so-called displaced. I don't call it displaced. You stole land and the land has been taken back legally from you, or maybe brothers got together in the mob and got rid of.
When you actually label it, what you call them are transient people. I don't give a damn if it done been 4 centuries. You're in transit. You're transient. You came there from somewhere else, and now your ass got to go back somewhere.
But you didn't.
So you were in transition. So you've been comfortable for a while. You found a bus station that held your ass comfortable and let you go to the pinnacle of society for so long. But now it's time to take your ass back.
Exactly. So now they're stuck in a situation. So yeah, it does make sense. So hopefully your daddy Trump send down the Delta jet, the KLM jets, pay at least a few South African jets, and get your ass up somewhere else, because it's something that no one can control. South Africa is not a small nation of a few people. So the people who have been deprived for generations, and they start to realize in consciousness what has happened to the ancestors and the land that white folks are just enjoying farming. And the thing of it is, the white folks that are farming, they're just managing the farms. The African people have always been the people doing all the work. And then you see a situation now where our African brothers are realizing more and more that they're not getting paid for their work, and then white folks are just doing the same thing that they've always done.
Always
pull
done.
a fast one on us. So now you have a situation where some of the workers like, I'm done with this. I can't take this anymore.
Yep.
You know what I mean? This is unjust, and they take it into their own hands, and no one can blame our people there. Now, so you have white journalists or white girls like Lauren Southern and other and these different white boys out there talking about white people did all this thing in South Africa, and they invented everything, and the only thing that black people in South Africa
you had a brother just within the last year that invented a water purification process. Because if you know anything about South Africa, they got a water resource problem. That invented a water purification machine. I got to find the brother's name, and we'll put it in the comments to the video. And white boy done took within a year time. The boy got so-called launched himself off a balcony to the hotel, committed suicide, and now they done already made a patent for the boy machine, and then already white inventor already making money off of it. So we know that story in America. Lewis Latimer. And Henry Sampson and others that have invented things and never get credit for what it is that they done. So, but in Africa, that is the center and the focus for African people. And so, if we, as diasporan Africans, understand that, and as the brother has done, go back and lend your time, labor, and resources to the development of the center, the focus for African people, Africa for the Africans, as Garvey says, and understand and take that technology with you and look to implement it there. Little by little, each person, the focus together as a gathered consciousness creates more than what we can think of ever on our own individually. And so we must look towards that to make our own little contribution, but work that contribution based on gathering the resources that every African should look to touch that soil of Africa before they leave this earth. And if we do that and take whatever time and talent and resources and youth to there, then we can say that we have at least worked back and took away some of what they meant to take away from us by separating us from our culture and homeland as African people. And if we do that, that will ultimately materialize in, not only because you're just thinking it, because when you touch it, you can testify. I know what the spiritual experience is of people from the diaspora when they first get to the continent, and you take them in them dungeons and they get to see the spiritual sites throughout the land and what it does to their mind and heart and spirit. You want to say something about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And as we're tying things in as much as we're talking about the whole situation of just being in control of our land and our resources. We have to just link back to the spiritual connection of our ancestors and just for guidance in this way, because it's we're talking about a big African continent, and we're talking about so much land that has to be taken back, and so much of our ancestors who died in the struggle, and so we always reach back out to them to empower us in that move. But the subject we're talking about, we can definitely go more and more into as possible. But it's definitely this a wake up call, and hopefully it's an inspiration to our folks that we must stand for these all of the wrongs that have been done in history. We must rewrite. We're doing the just work.
Address those grievances. So
in South Africa, that's what they're doing. In Zimbabwe, the fight continues, and in other parts of the African continent, we're fighting for our rights as African people to just be able to have a foundation for our children, our future. So I always tell our brothers and sisters, come on the journeys with us to Africa, and get a feel of the continent. You have once you get to one country, you have access to other countries, and then just envision what you can put in place and do and make a contribution. You don't have to be a political leader of a party to do and make certain things. All of us have contributions we can make.
Or a little irrigation system,
whatever we decide to do,
whatever it is,
we're righteous and make sure that we're about what we should be. So that's what I love about Julius Malema. As far as what he's talking about all of the corruption in African governments, and talking about how we have to work more for the mass of the people.
Yes.
So we link that to the vision of our ancestors. Our ancestors are going to be proud of us for us keeping the legacy of African people going by being righteous people and not fall into the trickery of this the concept of this what white people have done over the world, which is just dominate with and pay people off with trinkets and control people's economy and just do the most lethal and evil, wicked things. So, and we see what you reap what you sow, because now in South Africa you have these displaced white people who are confused. They don't know what to do. Some of them are in body bags, some of them are in the ground. It's because it's a revolution that's gonna monopolize and materialize and keep flowing with momentum.
Yeah.
So you evil, wicked white devils. Remember all the wicked things that you have done. These are the repercussions. Me, my brother right here, we have nothing to do with all the wicked things that happen to you. We're not the ones doing anything bad to any of your folks. You know what I mean? But the thing of it is, you put yourself in a position to where you're feeling it. You reap what you sow, and it's gonna come on you in different levels. In South Africa, that is playing out in bloodshed, straight up revolution, hardcore. Now, when you're dealing with situations in America and other places, it's playing out different. But nevertheless, your children are gonna suffer based on the evil that you have done. So I'm telling my brothers and sisters that we as a people must live righteous and do the righteous thing to build the nation. Right. Because if we build a wicked nation, it's gonna only crumble like how these white people nations are crumbling. That's why we don't need to duplicate what's going on in America and put it in Africa. We do need to use some of the technology and some of the things that have worked in developing nations or nations around the world, and incorporate that with the things that we especially the culture in Africa, to make it work for all African people.
Right. And always keeping it African centered. Look to your ancestors' example. Don't get caught up in all the little tricks and tragedies and all that what's going on now. Look to build on the legacy of Garvey and those who have laid down that foundation for struggle. Don't go too far into your own inclination. We have a lot of great ideas, but make sure those ideas, as the brother said, just with the addition of the technology needed to matriculate those ideas, look to further the example of our ancestors, Garvey, what Malcolm left us with building that bridge as we're carrying out between us in the diaspora and on the continent, and always keeping it based upon the culture of African people, as we did today. For we came to you, we pulled it out and called them in here to us. That's our culture. The drum, the water and the earth, the spirit, the matriarchal society, and understanding that we are African people and Africa is our homeland, our center and focus for struggle for liberation. And those comrades from all the way back in the day down to the day with Mugabe, and as we said, my comrade, man, Juju, Malema, in South Africa. I'm telling you, everything that's happened has led up to this point where you got that transference of power in those examples. And see, Manapatapa in South Africa are one. The inspiration for what Malema is doing came from Mugabe, as he always said. So it's one struggle. So by him taking that example from Mugabe's leadership, even though Mugabe to a degree has taken a loss recently, the spirit goes on through Malema to African liberation on a grander scale.
Revolution
with
continues.
South Africa, with a greater land, more resources. So we must always look towards the spirit of victorious struggle as African people and build upon that. And salute to the comrade Malema. I'll be over there in June, bro, to check out the elections over there, representing for the African Union Diaspora office over here. And me and the comrade, we already been back and forth on the email because through the political prisoner liberation thing, because we still got the Pan-African Congress comrades that's still in prison in South Africa. That's the first thing I'm going to be bringing to them. Hey, look, I know we're going to get the land back, right? But what about the comrades that's still down? We're going to let them out, right? Word. The Pan-African Congress, them comrades that carried out. See, the Pan-African Congress was the ones, Mandela and them had got locked up and was doing time. Them was the ones on the street that was the fighters that forced the apartheid government to give in on the ground. that not to take out of the example what Cuba did in Angola, and when South Africa set their army up there and was defeated by the Cubans, all of this had an effect down in South Africa to bring about the fall of apartheid. So Pan-Africanism will perish. You see it happening from Angola to Zimbabwe to now South Africa, and it based on a matriculation of revolutionary battles over time that were carried out by brothers and sisters who were persistent in the struggle. And when you see that example, it ain't too hard to find your way over there and be involved in that to add whatever efforts you have to that struggle.
Serious business, brother. Serious business, family. The revolution continues. Yeah, that is it right there.
That's what we're gonna call this one right here. Notes for an African World Revolution. The reappropriation of land in South Africa without compensation, white boy. You don't get Nathan.
That's the subject of the month here, you know, for February and here in March. Expropriation of land without compensation.
You get Nathan.
So no, family. Africans are not stealing white people land. White people don't own no damn land in Africa. Right. Anything that white people own in Africa has been unjust. Yeah, so whether you build a mansion on that property,
colonized.
You know what I'm saying? You know, you should take your personal belongings and just leave. You know what I mean?
Get up out of there.
You know, if you feel just to knock the mansion down, it's what it is. Do what you need to do. But the point of it is, Africans are gonna have to take their land back to be able to take care of our future as a people, to be able to rightfully build what we need to build. So family, in closing, you know, it's all about nation building.
To the Chimaringa,
Africa for Africans, forward ever, backwards never.
Africa for the Africans, forward ever.
It's all about nation building, family. So, you know, we just look to inspire you to be a part of the future and practically get involved and make a difference, and not just be there on YouTube making videos complaining and talking about what everybody else is doing.
Man, quit spreading all that disunity, man. You know them folks watching that. Stop doing
exactly.
that.
You know what I'm saying?
Quit getting caught up in your personal feelings, man. Do some work. Join an organization. If you don't like one that's out there, make your own that make it do. But make it be based on African principles.
Yes, family. No more, you know, no more coward stuff. You know what I mean? We see what it is.
No more Negro.
All you folks have been inspired by the Black Panther movie, so now do the work of what we really feel like we need to do the work of, and not just talk games and play around anymore. You know. So family, Black Power.